All right, so in this video, we're gonna focus on like the stuff that comes with owning a boat that you need. Okay, so we got dock pillows. This is okay. So this is gonna be like all of the extra stuff you're gonna have to purchase. I did a whole video on radios. That's going to be on the list of things that you're going to want, not necessarily be required to have. So these things, how much you have and what the rating that you have is based on the size of your boat and what waters you're in. So make sure that you check the federal guidelines for the Coast Guard, because they're a different entity from your state and local waters. Make sure you check all of the regulations for boating in the areas that you're going to be boating. A good guideline is to check the federal guidelines first and then check the local authorities, because either of them can pull you over at any time while you're on the water for pretty much any reason. They don't really need a reason. On that note, do not be drinking while you're on your vessel, and unless you are tied to a pier, you are quote unquote operating a marine vessel. Okay, so that includes living on the hook. If you're living on the hook, i.e. tied to a mooring, and you are on board your vessel, you're tied. You're not going anywhere, or you're at anchor tied up, and you just woke up for the morning and you want to do a little day drinking because you're going to work on your boat or just chill and read a book. If you are intoxicated and the authorities come up to you and for whatever reason and they see that you've been drinking, they could just be, God knows what their reasons are. You're operating a marine vessel if you're tied to your anchor in anchorage or at a mooring. And you can get a DUI even though you're on a sailboat and your sails are tucked inside in storage. It's ludicrous. So don't be intoxicated when you're boating in general. And if you're the captain of the boat, the person who's responsible, the skipper, if you will, you're responsible for your boat. So make sure there's someone sober on board if and when you get pulled over. Dock pillows. That's a big thing. So my boat, again, harping on the same chords here. My boat is at the line. 25 foot is the line between sizes of boats and ratings of materials and moorings, slips and whatnot. Same thing for all the gear, cleats, dock pillows, lines. If you're on that line, upsize it to the next class, okay? You don't want to be pushing the engineering capabilities of your equipment and your gear. Spend the extra money. Don't risk your boat. Don't risk the liability of them failing and damaging someone else's boat. When you get dock pillows for a boat that's 25 foot, if you have the storage on board, get bigger dock pillows, okay? Rated for a 30-foot boat. You're welcome. If storage is an issue, if you have to store them away, right, and you don't have a lot of space, if you have a way to inflate them, I considered having an onboard small pancake air compressor so that I could deflate my dock pillows when I was long-term not going to need them and pull them out and inflate them when I was going to need them. Okay. Get the bigger dock pillows. They're like double the size, but it's worth it. Especially if you're in a area that is prone to assholes who don't care about wake. Wake zones don't really do a whole lot when they're going along a shoreline. People are outside the wake zones and they're just they're cruising, making big waves outside the wake zone, but those waves carry into the wake zone. So get bigger dock pillows online. I got mine on Amazon. You can get them in all kinds of colors. Availability of a certain color. I tried to get yellow to match the boat. They only had like 2 in stock and I needed 3 or 4, I forget. So I went with black to match my boat. I didn't want the same thing as everyone else. White would kind of get dirty looking and dingy. So I went with black. Got it on Amazon, much cheaper than getting it in West Marine. Do price comparisons when you're doing this stuff. Makes a big difference. For dock lines, I should have bought them online. Didn't think about it until last minute. I bought them at West Marine on my way to go tie the boat to the dock. And for 2 dock lines for my boat, I upsized it. Like I said, didn't want to take the risk. It's insurance. It's insurance, essentially. I ended up paying $50 for 2 dock lines rated for, let's say, a 30-foot boat. And that cost $50 for 2 dock lines. And it wasn't like the best dock lines ever. They were like the minimum quality braided, not braided. Yeah. The spun, braided, twisted, polyester line. You want polyester. You don't want, natural material. Natural material gets, salt infested, which holds moisture, and then you have rot. So that's what I did. You can make your own. It's a whole thing. There's videos how to do it. You can do that. Marine emergency gear, U.S. Coast Guard approved. That is the big difference. So you can get a fire extinguisher like that and put it on your boat, and it will do everything that it needs to do all day long, every day. You can have the required amount of those on board for your size vessel. There's a size requirement, vessel per fire extinguishers. On very small boats, like a canoe, you don't need one of these. But on a boat with a cabin, under a certain foot, you need a minimum of 1. I was, again, on the line, 25, 26, bordering into the next area. I didn't want to risk it, so I bought 2. Okay, like I said, this one will do everything that a fire extinguisher needs to do on board. However, when you get searched by the authorities on your boat, they will be checking your emergency equipment. If you have these instead of the U.S. Coast Guard approved fire extinguishers on board your boat, they don't count. They don't count. So buy the more expensive marine grade U.S. Coast Guard approved ones to the minimum standard that you need to have on board your vessel. Anything else is extra, and they don't care. So for my boat, I was being conservative, and I bought 2 instead of 1. I think I bought them online. I know that I bought them online. It was cheaper, much cheaper. Yeah, I think it was Amazon. I got a big cart of all the things I needed. I bought that. Boop. I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I had the minimum of the U.S. Coast Guard approved. I was probably going to buy a set of these to go on board as well, so that I had double firefighting capacity than was absolutely required minimum by the Coast Guard on board. Why not? You tuck them in anywhere. More the better. If a fire starts, you want fire suppression capability. Absolutely. You're on an island, a very small island, and the fires grow fast, real fast. So they're white. The ones that you need are white, not red. Buy the white ones that you need and double them with red ones. Coast Guard doesn't consider these usable on boats, but you can. They will work, but they're not Coast Guard certified for marine use. So do that. Other things, again, you have to check your size of your boat and the chart of what is required for that boat. It's online. You can Google it. No big deal. There's other things that you need. Sound producing devices, flares, signaling devices. I was able to find, and it was pretty cheap, at West Marine. It was on sale for, I want to say $60. It was a whole set. Came with a flare gun, smoke flares, hand throwing flares. It had a signal mirror, all kinds of stuff. I even think there was a little first aid kit in it. It came in a neoprene bag. You know what? I can just walk out to the thing. I got a thing. We'll just walk there, and then you'll see what the thing is. Okay. I gotta move my lawn today. Look at my mess out here. Glorious mess. Gotta clean that up. This is the thing. It's a job box that I put all of my boat stuff in. I still have lines here. If you lose your boat or sell your boat, if you can, keep anything that is good still usable with it. Hopefully we don't get stung. That's another video. So here's my trolling motor. I kept that. There's the yellow paint that I used for the hull. I have some, this is the bag that I was just talking about. Neoprene bag, emergency marine signal kit. It was like $60. Not bad. Everything that I need in here is with it. Now your flares will expire. They will expire. So the Coast Guard will be checking the dates, the expiration dates on those flares. If they're expired, not necessarily not usable, you can still keep them on board and use them, but they do not count. These are the fire extinguishers that are Marine Coast Guard approved. It says it on the thing. Okay, the standard. Sound producing device. I already knew how to play the trumpet for many years. So I got this plastic bugle. I want to say it was like $30. I already had a mouthpiece from my trumpets. Sound producing device. Okay. Some people use conch horns. They keep them on board as their sound producing device, but they don't know how to use them. Same thing with this. The conch horn is not going to be as loud as this if you don't know how to use it. This will be a little bit louder because it's ideal manufactured, tried and true brass instrument. Okay. But if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't work. So you meet the requirement by having it on board, but it doesn't work. I thought about building my own air system on board, another thing with the air compressor, and building my own air horn or buying an air horn and hooking it to that. But I would have to like take it out and, you know, like hook it up and all kinds of things. It really wasn't worth all that extra effort. So this is my sound producing device. I think the kit came with an air horn. That's something that people do. Air horns are like fire extinguishers. Like if you're using them once or twice, they're done. So there's that. I have emergency throw rope. It comes in a bag. It's fantastic. Have that in your cockpit while you're out there. Flotation devices. So, oh, here's my pillows. Big, huge pillows. I have some oars that came with an inflatable dinghy that my parents gave me. That would be my lifeboat. You know, I'd have to sit there and blow it up forever. So it would be like a long-term emergency situation. I have these cushions. They're not supposed to be used as seat cushions, but they can be. These are throwable flotation devices. There's different classes. You need to have minimum of, you know, a minimum certain type of class for flotation devices. These were, you have to have one for every person on board, right? My boat slept 5, but by regulation I could have like 15 people on board, which would be insane to have that many people on board. So I limited myself to my personal flotation devices that I had on board. So I had a set of 4 of these. They came in a set of 4. And I had this device that I could wear, and I had 2 of these that I could throw. So these are my throwables, and they're also flotation devices. And I have these athletic jackets that my parents gave me. Yeah. There's my bilge pump that was gifted to me by one of my mechanic friends in the Navy. They used it for pumping bilges or whatever. It's an AC powered plug-in with an auto sensing wet dry probe in it. So I could plug it in, leave it in the bilge, while I was away from the boat, run the hose out the companionway to spill over the outside of the boat, and it would just drain. That's my anchor. And the anchor line, I have some chain there. It's called anchor chain at the store. It's coated so that it doesn't rust. You want a certain portion of your line to be chain that runs from the anchor. It should be anchor, chain, rope. If you can't do chain the whole way. The chain is important because it holds the end stem of the anchor to the dirt, weighs it down. If you don't do that, your anchor can pull out of the dirt and you'll lose your boat. Ideally, I wanted a plow anchor, but they are stupid expensive. But they have them, stainless steel plow anchors. They bolt together. You can unbolt them and store them on your boat. That's what I want. This line, like I said, that's another video. Remember that. There's the door paint that I painted the numbers on the boat with. I think that's about it in this one. That's that Minn Kota 30-pound thrust motor pushed my 26-foot boat without a problem into and out of the slip. All right, let's go back. So that was like the minimum amount of things I needed for my boat. When I lost my boat, I grabbed it off of there. The wrecker yard allowed me to go on my boat and get those things. Luckily, I told them like, hey, I was using it to like haul the things that I need to live, and my whole life is on the boat, and they felt bad for me and let me go do it. It's an insurance liability for them to let you in a wrecker yard because of, industrial hazards, and you're not covered. But I got them to let me do it, and I for sure grabbed all that stuff. All that stuff costs more than I paid for the boat. So keep those things if you can. If they're still good, absolutely keep them. Plastidip, the anchor, and motor mount. I did that. So you can plastic dip. It's like a paint. You can dip like tools and things in it, and it adds like a durable plastic rubberized coating on your stuff, keeps it from rusting. They also sell it in a spray can. I got 2 or 3 spray cans of it, and I sprayed my anchor and all that so that it wouldn't corrode. I sharpened the anchor. That's the thing. Just like with a shovel, it makes a big difference. Sharpen the anchor with the angle grinder. I didn't go at it with files and things, but the edges were dull. If you sharpen your anchor, it will cut into the ground much better. It also makes it a safety hazard when you're working around it. You don't want to fall onto the sharp points of your anchor, so be careful with that. And then anchor chain, the one that came with the boat was just rusted. If you have a rusted, pitted anchor chain, it's going to fail at some point. And when it fails, you lose your anchor and your boat at the same time. Yeah, that's not good. So all that stuff, let's see, is there anything else I'm forgetting that you need on your boat? We talked about Coast Guard regulation. Definitely look up the Coast Guard regulation and make sure you have all the things you're required to have on board, because if you get pulled over and they check you and you don't meet the minimum requirements, when you are the skipper of the boat, you're responsible for the boat's performance and whether it damages things. You are also responsible for all lives on board. It's a whole different legal code than, land-based legal code. Okay, maritime legal code is what you're under. It's different and it's way more restrictive, and you can get in some serious fines. They will take your boat and they will tow it to a yard, and you'll have to pay the fines. You'll have to pay to release your boat. If you're intoxicated, you get a DUI. All kinds of things. Okay, so make sure that you are in accordance with the regulations in the waters that you are operating in. Please. It's better to pay $50 for the correct equipment, $50 extra for the correct equipment, than thousands of dollars. Because if they find one thing, they'll find more things, to make the charge stick. They'll look for more stuff. Trying to think of anything else like equipment related. Don't use a conch shell unless you know how to use it. Like, it's more of a novelty. Okay. I saw a video about noise producing devices when I was looking that up, where like bridge operators and whatnot, some people don't have radio on board, so they can't use a radio to contact. So they'll try and like blow the conch horn at the bridge operator for like a drawbridge, and they can't hear you because they're inside of a box. It's summertime. They have the AC running. Some people might have radio blasting music on their boat, and you won't hear the horn. It's for safety. If you're in foggy conditions, you have to be able to sound. Dock pillows too, if you have bigger ones. They're also flotation devices. If you get like capsized, or you want to ground and the tide's going out and you're drying out, you can use them to keep your boat vertical above the water, so that as the tide comes back in, your boat doesn't get swamped. If you capsize, you can tie dock pillows to your boat, and they're flotation devices. It'll keep your boat at the surface so it won't sink. You can tie the floats, the pillows, to your mast for the same reason if you capsize, and it'll save your boat. It'll save you. You'll have something to hold on to. If you can stay with your boat, they always find the boat. They don't always find the people. So try to stay with your boat if you lose it. Definitely look up some other videos on operating your boat in bad conditions. Like emergency storm operating conditions, and be prepared for those things. If you're not prepared when you go out on the water, you're risking your life and the lives of everyone on board. And if you're the owner of the boat, the skipper, the controller, person in charge, you are liable for all souls on board. So even if you survive, if other people die, like, you're a murderer. And you can be charged as one. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. Stay safe out there. I'm out.